Hello, it's Camilla here from My Parenting Solutions, and I think you people are being told that I've gone live, and I'm waiting for a very special guest, Tess, who is going to come and join me any minute now. So hopefully Tess will, yeah, she's joined. Fantastic. Now, I might be able to ask you, yes, brilliant. Okay, let's go. Looks like that's all gone smoothly. And Tess, any minute, should be joining me. Yes, it all works. It's always a little bit of a, you kind of wait, is that going to work? Fantastic. So you're down in, where are you, Tess? You down in Eastbourne?
No, well, it's Hastings.
Hastings. Ah, okay, lovely. I'm just going to turn my volume up a bit. I'm a little bit quiet. Yeah. And well, it's so lovely to have you here. So I invited you on because you came on my program, the Tantrum Taming Toolkit, and it was just lovely to have you on. And you were really kind of there every week on the group calls. I know that you were watching the online part of the program, and I guess it's just always useful for other parents to hear direct from a parent rather than from me about a new parent's experience of accessing what I teach. And so I just thought, I invited you and you said yes, which was lovely, because not everybody will, some people feel a bit kind of shy about it, or, just, yeah, or kind of awkward. So I guess what I'd love to know from you is, like, when you saw that I was offering the Tantrum Taming Toolkit program, what were your thoughts? Like, what was your response to it?
Well, I guess just to kind of give a bit of background,
Yeah.
I've been following you on Instagram since I think it was like the beginning of the pandemic.
Yes.
Yeah. I just had a second baby and obviously very little support, and
Yeah.
I found your Instagram really helpful, like the posts and stuff. Really helped me to kind of reframe how I was talking to Edward,
Yes.
who I needed the help for, really.
Yes.
I had a new baby. I was dealing with an almost 2-year-old as well at the time. So, it
Very
was
stressful.
great to follow your account, and just kind of that gave me some really good tips. So I really liked your approach anyway.
Yes.
And to be quite honest, I think it was around March time, we were kind of just like a bit at the end of our tether with
Yeah.
Edward's behaviour. Like, his tantrums aren't particularly bad, obviously
Yeah.
he has tantrums, but it was more his sort of what you'd call like cheeky, mischievous
Yeah.
behaviour, and just kind of being rude to us,
Yes.
not listening, and just both me and my husband were finding it really difficult. We I think also the fact that we didn't really approach it in the same way, so we had kind
Yeah.
of different outlook,
Yes.
how we should respond, and we were kind of a bit at loggerheads, and our relationship wasn't in the best place
Yeah.
because of, I think it had a big impact on our relationship because we just didn't really know what to do or where to turn.
Yes.
And obviously I followed you, so I kind of looked at your website and saw that you did sort of the one-to-one sessions. And when I contacted you, you sort of told me about the course that you
Mm.
offer,
Mm.
and it just sounded like a good fit for us.
Mm.
And I would say I would prefer it to the one-to-one sessions because it was great to have that interaction with other parents, and it
Yes.
kind of really feel like you're not the only one kind of going.
Yes.
You don't have the you're not the only one that has with a child that's kind of a bit wayward. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
great. So I hope that kind of answers your
Yeah.
question.
No,
So
it's great.
kind of went,
And what were your feelings like as as a parent with a little boy who was cheeky, a bit wayward, a bit kind of didn't want to do what you asked? How did, and then also, like you say, you were a little bit at loggerheads with your partner who you know, perhaps just parented in a different way or just haven't had a different approach. What was that feeling like when, I mean, I know how I felt with a wayward toddler. What was it like for you? What like that kind of not knowing or that?
Yeah, I suppose it's just that you feel out of control,
Yeah.
and you just. I was kind of thinking about it earlier because I was thinking about preparing for this,
Yeah.
and I think when you have a baby, you're kind of like really thrown in the deep end.
Yes.
Kind of, you don't know what you're doing.
Yes.
I feel like at every stage of parenting, you sort of go through this. Um, Sorry, there's a lot of noise going on in the background, so I'm just going to shut the door.
Oh, okay. Don't worry. I've got an alarm going on in my back. Someone's left a wake
um,
up alarm going off. I was like, oh God.
so, and I think, yeah, so like I said, you don't really know what you're doing at any stage.
Yeah.
And it's like just as soon as you kind of feel like you've got it cracked, it
Yes.
starts again. And I think also having a new baby as well,
Yeah.
with just kind of, you're exhausted anyway from looking after a new baby. And yeah, I think it's just that sense of feeling out of control, not really knowing
Yeah.
what to do. And I think because you don't really know what to do, it quite often ends up in like shouting, and
Yeah. Yeah.
that
Part of that is not knowing
is
what,
productive.
totally counterproductive. And part of the not knowing what to do is not knowing what your expectations should be. And that's a lot of about what I talk about in the program. It's like, you know, well, I've seen my friend's child, and he, although, you know, of course, in the pandemic, you weren't seeing so many children, but, you know, you think, well, he sits and gets in the buggy without a massive fuss, or, you know, and so what should I be expecting? Like, is it me, you know, is my child being like this because I'm not parenting him well? Or,
Yeah, and I think I always sort of felt, I've always felt a little bit like that. I'm quite, I suppose I'm a bit of a perfectionist
yeah,
anyway, which I think is sounds awful, but you kind of project that on your child, and you think, oh,
yes,
why aren't you acting like how I'd expect you to act?
yes,
The other children are acting, and I think the great thing about your course as well was kind of embracing the characteristics that your child has, like parent the child you have,
yeah, yes,
child that you wish you had, which sounds weird,
yeah.
child you wish you.
No, I totally get that, because
Uh,
we so take for granted the things that they do. You know, part of it is that the way our brain works, because we're kind of programmed to look out for kind of mistakes. And so we notice far more the things that they're not doing or they're doing wrong, than we take for granted the things that they do. But I love the fact that you repeat that back to me, because it actually came from a parenting expert that I worked with called Bonnie Harris, who's brilliant, an American lady. And she told me that, and I was like, oh God, that's actually really good, because, you know, this is the child I have. You know, when I had two little boys, I wish for little girls who would sit quietly and draw, you know. And then I get two little girls who sat quietly and draw, but I realized that there was other things. You know, my boys were they were much straighter. You could kind of, you just know what you're getting with a boy, like they'll tell you things, and
okay.
girls will be a little bit cunning about how they, you know, they're sort of, you know, the female sex, isn't it? So yeah, I mean, I think it's such a great one, that parent the child you have, not the child you wish you had. So, and also I guess what was happening for you is that kind of a bit of a lack of confidence with not knowing, and, you know, being a little bit of a perfectionist yourself, which I know I am.
Yeah.
When they're not doing the right thing, you lose confidence in yourself as a parent. So I think, you know, parents find that really hard. And what would you say the kind of the best were from the program for
Um,
you?
I think the main benefits were kind of really reframing our mindset, and that wasn't just me, but
Yeah,
for my husband Miles as well. So I
yeah,
think for me, that was a really big outcome because we both kind of were aligned on
Yeah.
our thinking, and it's just made us kind of be a lot stronger together as a team. So working together as a team rather than sort of, because quite often previously when Edward kind of, you know, had a moment, we'd both we'd sort of end up arguing ourselves.
Yeah.
So obviously that's quite counterproductive.
Yes.
What else? I mean, there's loads of things, but I'd say one of the key things as well is the learning how to deal with certain situations. And for me, it was really using like the descriptive praise.
Yes.
So that's one of the things from the course. So kind of using that sort of positivity to bring out the best in Edward, and
yes.
notice like a really big difference.
Yeah, even, you know, and that's that I think the big, you know, the change for me when I learned all this years ago is even in the moment when they're being really difficult, finding something to praise.
Yeah, that I think because he's still, sorry, I'm like, my battery is really low. So
oh God, I've got that. I've got mine plugged in, kind of propped up.
yeah, that's what I need to make sure I do.
Oh, I've lost you there. We the sound went.
But yeah, I definitely think having, because obviously Edward isn't, just because we've done your course, it doesn't mean he's like perfectly behaved all the time. And I think that's one of the key takeaways, is that it's not necessarily going to change his behavior completely, but what it does do is it allows us to know how to handle it better, and also sort of stem any kind of
Oops, I think we just lost you for a second there. I think we lost you for a little bit there, Tessa.
Am I back?
Yes, you said you don't expect, you know, always to have good behavior, but
it's more about knowing how to deal with it, and even if it's what we class as like bad behavior, that we can we sort of respond quite positively, or try and turn the situation around. And I've really found that that's made a big difference. I think the other thing that's really worked for us, so Edward loves routine.
Yes.
And anything like that, so we've sort of introduced new rules
Yes.
into our existing routine. And when I say rules, it sounds really harsh, but obviously in your course you kind of explain that rules kind of, it helps to give expectations to the child. They know what to expect. We know what we expect as well. I definitely feel like he really responds to that. So for example, it sounds really simple when you say it out loud, but he was really you know, being very difficult about getting dressed for bed.
Yeah.
And in the evening, and he still has milk. So now, instead of sort of giving him his milk as soon as he gets out of the bath and then trying to get him dressed, it's like, no, now you have milk once you're dressed.
Yes.
Kind of that incentive, and then you can like, you know, praise and or whatever afterwards. And yeah, that's as I just said, reward. That's another thing I really liked about your course, is that it's not necessarily rewarding with like, you know, toys or rewarding that good behavior, because you don't always be like, oh, you've behaved well, so we're going to reward you. It's sort of small things like giving praise, or like the stickers or anything like that. And that's just really, it's just, I feel like we've just got a bit of a calmer household overall. And we know what to expect. He knows what to expect. And that just makes for a much harmonious way of living. So you know, it's obviously still not without its challenges.
Of course.
But I think the other huge benefit of the course with you is, you know, we found Edward's behaviour particularly difficult.
Yeah.
I would say he's quite a difficult child
Sure.
compared to some children.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's really energetic. He's very determined. He's
Yeah.
very independent, and mixed with like confidence as well. You know, these are all great qualities to
Yes.
have, but not as a parent
Yeah.
of a toddler. So I think he's particularly difficult. But even saying that, I think the tools that we learned from your course will see us through kind of like the whole of our parenting.
Yes.
Really, like sort of for every stage. I've even started using some of them, some of the things I learned on my husband.
Yeah.
So he knows. But just like the way I frame things differently, so I'm not seen as like nagging.
Yes. Yeah.
Quite useful too. So it's good for kind of like any relationships. And the other key benefit as well is that the modules are, so it's, if people aren't aware, you have like the sort of the Zoom calls where you have the interaction, but there's also we've got the modules that you obviously pre-record, and they're brilliant because we can just go back to them.
Yes.
Need to, and I think that's really good as like a refresher, because you do sort of a kind of, I found that you start to transition back a little bit sometimes, or forget. So it, you know, I kind of, me and Miles have sort of decided we're going to try and like refresh ourselves every month or so, just to watch a few bits back, or like watch any of like the role play videos that you do, and it just kind of keeps it fresh.
Yes.
And I think with any job that you go and do, you 9 times out of 10 you're going to have training for it. But being a parent, it's like you're almost expected to know what to do, how to react.
Yes.
And actually, I found that doing the course has, because you know, you feel a bit silly actually thinking, oh, I need a course to tell me how to look after my child, or tell me how to parent.
Yeah.
But I would really suggest that I feel like everyone needs to do a course like this, because it just teaches you so much and about yourself as well, and about the way you handle things.
Yes.
And yeah, I've just found it really beneficial. Also, the fact that it's not just all kind of how you respond to your child, but also really understanding their brain activity and the science behind it, and the way they do. And I think that particularly really helped my husband to kind of understand and get it, and why he wasn't able to reason with Edward when he's sort of, you know, having a tantrum or being really playing up.
Yes.
You know, and I think the course, doing it as a pair, doing it as a couple, if you're in a couple,
yes,
was really beneficial for our relationship too. So,
no,
just really
brilliant.
I answered everything.
I think you really have. I mean, it's so interesting because, you know, when I think back to my learning from in the early stages of going to classes, it was just the class. It wasn't recorded. So, you know, and you do but if you can just, like you say, just dip in once a month and you watch, I'll be updating it, because I'm like you, I'm a perfectionist. And I was thinking, oh, I'll just add in this. Or if somebody gives me a scenario, I'm like, oh, I'll just do that in a role play. And I don't know where Piggy is. He's gone on the bed. But, you know, just bringing up the Piggy and doing a role play. So I know I'll add some more of those in. But yeah, just that kind of, you know, refreshing. And as you say, you know, it's what I've tried to make it as is like it's principles and foundations for positive parenting. Obviously, there's a focus on the challenging behavior and the tantrums, because those are the things I think we find the most difficult to deal with. You know, probably if you had a easy peasy child, you might not. I need the program. I would still say you do, because actually an easy peasy child will still need their confidence boost. They still need to be taught to speak up for themselves, they need to be taught to value themselves. So actually, you know, but it's those challenges that tend to draw parents in. Then they think, oh, I really need this. But once
Yeah.
they're in and they realize, hey, it's not just about those difficult times. It's about, you know, I mean, I've just found like the really lovely thing is like, you know, going on a walk with a toddler and thinking of 10 things you can praise them for. And that's just so lovely. Whereas we're not programmed to that for that. You know, we're programmed when they let go of your hand to say, no, 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 you gotta, you know, it's dangerous, you gotta hold my hand.
Definitely. And I think also what you said, it is that kind of praise, but also what it's taught me, particularly my husband, because obviously I was following you anyway, so I'd already picked up a few things. But
Yes.
that whole thing of not just saying, oh, well done
Yeah.
or good boy, it's like actually explaining to them why
Yes.
behavior has been good. So, oh, well done, you put your shoes on all by yourself.
Yes.
I've actually had to print out like a list of adjectives
Yeah.
so that I can use some different ones with him. But like sort of saying to him, "Oh, you're so creative," because
Yes.
picture. So it kind of really helps to build their confidence as well, which I think is really important for like you said, laying the foundations of being a confident adult.
Yes.
Really.
Yes. Yeah. And like, you know, like you were saying that you sort of, there's so much of looking at yourself and thinking, you know, is this about me and my perfectionism, or should, you know, maybe I should just let this one go, because who cares if they haven't done whatever. I mean, I'm not saying like if you've asked them to tidy up, let it go, but you know, there's things that we can perhaps, you know, wait or not make such a big deal of. But
Yeah,
it's
it's that expectations thing as well from both sides. So he knows what to expect, but I think it's also for us to have realistic expectations of what he's capable of. And, if he's really tired
yeah.
or hungry, is he really going to listen? Can we
Yes.
really expect him to do that?
Yes.
And probably knows it's kind of, lowering your expectations a little bit.
Yes. Yeah.
And and I think that helps as well, because it helps you feel like not such a failure as a parent too, because you sort of recognize that actually, you're just going to get into a stalemate situation and you're both going to end up being more unhappy.
Yes.
Whereas, like you say, sometimes if you just like let little things go,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
it,
Or
it
also
just makes your life a lot easier.
it does. Or just think, you know what? No, I get it. He doesn't want to do this. I really get why it's that, you know, he's resisting it, because, you know, what they have such a different agenda to us. And yeah, you know, if I've said it's time for your bath and they run off and you know, shout, go, get off me, kind of no wonder, you know, it's like
Yeah, yeah,
they're
definitely.
kids. Uh,
And I think sometimes the things that we kind of like ask them to do, it's like this the whole thing of if the TV's on, they're
yes,
watching something, or if they're really engrossed in playing with a toy, and
yes,
you just go up to them and say, right, time to brush your teeth.
yes,
Like, or like if that was you, you'd be like, well, no, I'm like
yeah,
doing something at the moment. I'll be there in a minute.
yes,
We do that as adults. So to expect your child to just kind of like drop everything and be like, oh yes, I'm going to do this boring thing of
yeah,
brush my teeth because you
yeah,
told me.
yes,
So that kind of expectation, and then also learning the the method to kind of get past that. So like getting down to their level, engaging with them,
yes,
talking about what they're playing with, and then saying, and now it's time to brush your teeth, or can we take Teddy with us?
yes. So
And
should we brush
I
Teddy?
did that morning. Teddy went and brushed his teeth,
Yes, yeah,
and the difference that made, because teeth brushing is like one of the worst things in this household for us. So, and that really, really worked. So I was like, can you show Teddy how to brush his teeth?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
It's kind of like being a bit creative as well. I'm thinking a little bit like a child too.
yes. Standing
It's
in there.
really quite fun as well.
Yeah, it is fun, and it makes you feel so much more competent as a parent, doesn't it? When you're, you know, you're a little bit more cheerful, you're a bit more playful. You realize that, you know, playfulness makes a difference, you know, and
Yeah,
you might be thinking, why should I have to? But actually, why shouldn't you? You know, like, what's the big deal? If Teddy comes and he gets involved in toothbrushing, how lovely. And then,
Yeah,
you know, you've had a game with it. And then Edward's also brushed his teeth. So, you know,
exactly. So rather than me being like, no, you need to brush your teeth. Come on, Edward, brush your teeth. God, that is usually what happens. But
yeah, but, you know, you kind of know that there is an alternative. And if you
yeah,
stop, and sometimes it just is like, oh God, come on, Tessa, come on, you know, stop.
I do think that's the other thing with the course, though. It does, as much as sometimes you might kind of go back to your old ways,
Yes.
for want of a better phrase, it does make you stop and think again.
Yeah.
So quite often I'll sort of try and either count to 10, or I'll try and walk away now as well.
Yeah.
If I can, I just try and walk away um, from the situation and come back, because you know sometimes it is just too much, and I think that that really works, rather than me biting and like responding by shouting,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
you know losing my cool,
Yeah.
because it always just ends up so much worse
Yes. Yeah.
when you do that.
Yeah.
As sometimes you might want to, because you're like, ugh.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Oh, brilliant. Well, just like before we go, because we've chatted a long time actually. What would
sorry.
No, it's good. It's lovely. I mean, I kind of know how long to chat for. Don't apologize. What would you say to somebody who might be on the fence? Like, you know, if they're thinking, oh, it's going to be, so in case anybody's joined, we're talking about the fact that Tessa joined my program, the Tantrum Taming Toolkit, which is open for registration this week. And we start next week on our first group call, as well as giving you access to the online part that you have lifelong access to. What would you say to somebody that was like, should I?
I would say it's a really positive investment in your child's future, um, and in your future as being a parent. You know, it's not just this like kind of one-off um, course. It's sort of like a lifetime way of thinking and approach. So hopefully that would kind
Yeah.
of convince people, because it's not just like, you know, you do the course and that's it. It sort of stays with you, and it's like an investment in your child. It's like kind of, you know, you pay for swimming lessons for
Yeah.
yourself, so you know you're teaching them a life skill. Why not teach yourself and your child a life skill by doing a course like this?
Yeah.
Be a better parent.
Brilliant. Brilliant. That's lovely. Thank you so much for giving your time.
That's okay. And sorry that I've like done musical chairs and
Oh,
it's like
don't worry.
dark.
We're all used to this. Listen, I had a webinar last night. Was it last night? Yeah. And that for some reason the wrong link had gone out and it was a disaster. So, you know, we all have little techie issues. We all know what that's like. People were very sympathetic, but, you know, so honestly, please don't worry about that. But I just so appreciative of you spending, you know, half an hour, and at least got the football over. We won.
Yeah, exactly.
That was good timing. But, you know, I just really appreciate you spending your time to encourage other parents. And that's, you know, it's just, it's such a lovely thing. And I just, you know, I really applaud you for how you've embraced this stuff. It's like I always say, it's not about every single moment of the day being the perfect parent, but it's just finding that when you do things more positively and more kind of mindfully, you just feel so much better, and you get this gorgeous little child, the best of them. And that's, you know, that's just so lovely. I mean, I was saying in the webinar last night when I finally got on it, my daughter's been babysitting for somebody recently.
Oh.
And the woman said, so my daughter's 18, one of them is 18. And the woman said to her, do you know what? I really want my children to grow up like you. And Scarlett's like, oh, that's nice. She said, I really want to speak to your mom and ask her what she did. And Scarlett said, well, as it happens, she's a parenting coach. And the woman went, oh, now it makes sense. So, you know, it isn't just...
Miller, that's one thing I didn't say. I've kind of talked all about the course, but actually, what made the course is you doing it, and you're really non-judgmental. You're very realistic, but you're also very optimistic, and you know, all of your content is just delivered in a really nice way and in a believable way, and
Yes.
something you feel like you can actually achieve as a parent. And so yeah, I didn't really mention that
Uh,
part, but obviously the course content's great, but really it's you know, it's down to the fact that you're the way you're delivering it, and because you've got experience of like bringing up four children, kind of gives you that reassurance that obviously you do know what you're talking about.
mm, and you know, I know how completely terrible it can be.
Yeah.
You know, this gorgeous daughter who's babysitting can be really off with me sometimes. You know?
And yeah, using your own experiences during the course, and it really does, you know, especially when you talked about Nico and stuff, and
Yeah.
it makes me feel like I'm not the only one that is going through this or has gone through this,
Yes.
dealing with a more difficult child. So
Yeah. And then,
um,
you know, get it right, and they come out the other end, and people say they want their child to be like yours.
yeah, that's amazing. What a great endorsement.
Wasn't it? I know. I said to Scarlett, could you just record her? You
Yeah.
know? Brilliant. Oh, listen, Tess, I shall let you get back to your evening. Thank you so
Okay.
much. This will, if you've only just joined, this will be in my IGTV, and I'll pop it up on my story. But it's just been lovely to speak to Tess, who came on the Tantrum Taming Toolkit and is a big advocate. So if you're thinking of joining, I'm actually going to put a link in the bio, which actually takes you straight through to the page. There is a webinar tomorrow night, the 3 secrets to managing tantrums and challenging behavior. So anybody that would like to join that, is that link is in the bio. Or if you'd like to check out what's actually in the program, which, like I say, is being launched this week, then I'll put that link up as well. So that's all from us, and I'll well, I'm sure, no doubt, we'll have contact again soon. Okay,
Great. No,
take care.
for having me.
Pleasure. Thank you for coming. Bye.
Bye.